Well, my next guest this evening is one of those people with so much energy, he makes the rest of us look as if we're standing still. David Frost-like, he spends his entire life rushing around the world in aeroplanes, running his company, which manages anybody who's anybody in the world of sport, although not Ian Botham. Actually, he has dress designers, classical pianists, and chat show hosts on his books too. He even once had the Pope. The motivating factor in all of this is money, because in the process of managing them, he renders them, and indeed himself, seriously rich. They call him Mark the Machine. Let's find out why. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Mark McCormack. Mark, I'm terribly wary about interviewing you because everything I read about you says you're hyper-efficient, you never stop, you're always on the go, you're following the moving target, you've got no small talk. I mean, should you have accepted this invitation?
Well, it was a pleasure to do it because I knew there wasn't going to be a lot of time. You were going to allot to it. You've only got 35 minutes.
But that's plenty. That's plenty. We can find a lot out about you in that time. It does sound like heart attack stuff, though. I mean, every minute of your day is allotted and accounted for, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think that for me, though, I do that in order to make time to relax and to do the things that I enjoy. And I think really, you mentioned in the introduction that money was the name of the game, and for me, it's enjoyment of what I do. I mean, I really enjoy my work. I can't wait to get up in the morning and can't wait to get into the next day.
But the money helps.
Well, I think at the beginning, of course, money always helps for everyone because...
Well, once you've got it, it doesn't matter.
Once you get a certain amount of it, it's less important. But today people say, why do you do this? And the answer is, I love what I do.
You love it so much that you get up at something like 5 o'clock in the morning?
That can be sometimes a little late.
What time did you get up this morning?
This morning, a little bit before 5.
What do you do at this unearthly hour?
Well, unfortunately, generally one of my secretaries comes over about 5:30, and I do my dictating for a couple of hours, and then I start. And then I'm sort of ready to read the morning paper and get into the day.
And you also go running.
Now I'm trying to do that by playing tennis because I really enjoy tennis a lot, and I get more enjoyment out of tennis than I do out of just jogging or running.
But what do you do? I mean, if you're stuck in a hotel room as you kind of globe-trot, how do you exercise in the morning?
I do try to do some exercise each day, and I run in place and do sit-ups and things like that.
Run in place?
Run in place, you know, where you lift your knees high and quickly and all that for about 10 minutes.
In the hotel bedroom?
Wherever I am, yeah.
It
looks a little silly, I know.
It's not, it looks a little silly. I mean, if this is at 5 o'clock in the morning, what about the poor chap down below? You're presumably staying in this extremely expensive hotel.
Well, one time in Tokyo, I did get a call from the person down below saying, what's going on up there? It's the 3rd morning in a row.
and you, I bet they did wonder what was going on. And you, especially if the secretary had come to dictate at the same time. And you jot it all down. You log it, don't you? You know how many hours in the year you've slept, how many miles you've run on the spot or wherever.
Well, I'm sort of a nut on figures, and I do keep a lot of records and things of that kind. And I started out just because people were saying I wasn't resting enough, so I decided to try to keep a record of how much I was resting. And then it just became sort of a habit. So I do it now for no reason other than to amuse myself.
Let's talk about what you actually do, which is manage people. Why do sportsmen need managing?
Well, I think the main thing is that sportsmen have a limited amount of time within which to perform at their peak. And usually that time is when they're very young. And in order to maximize that from a commercial standpoint, they need help in finance and tax and investments and career management so they can concentrate on the playing field.
Well, now, you don't manage Mr. Botham, as we were saying. I mean, have you bid for him? Have you been after him?
No. We've not done too much in cricket, although when Kerry Packer became involved with cricket a number of years ago, we were involved in the signing of a lot of the players for him.
But is he the sort of chap you'd like and could help?
Well, whether I could help or not, you know, I don't know. I don't know that much about his business, the business aspects of his career. But certainly he has a very exciting image and somebody that I'm sure does very well commercially.
Kathy, he's presumably got a manager or an agent or something. I mean, what is your experience of managers and agents?
Well, there have been one or two. The experience, apart from Reg, I found that possibly the manager himself liked the limelight, possibly more so than Ian, wanted to appear in the limelight. But at the moment, everything seems fine.
Is that the problem, Mark? I mean, do you care to share the limelight with your stars? You have so
I
many.
personally don't care to do that, although I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people that a lot of the hangers-on with people in sports or entertainment very much do that to get into the limelight, but none of us are, none of them are that innocent, really, and they know just what they're doing.
Because exploiting people's potential, be they sportsmen or television stars or whatever, is all very well as long as you're not one of the people involved, because you will get exploited.
Well, I think that's right. I'm not sure exactly what that question meant.
Well, what I mean is that if you're going to take somebody and use them to their full earning potential, because after all, this is all about money. And this is all about success, image making, marketing, and making money.
And succeeding in your profession, which is, after all, what it's really all about. Because if Bjorn Borg starts losing on the tennis court, it doesn't make any difference how brilliant you are at marketing him.
No, but if he's succeeding, he's making money. And
it's our job to make sure that he makes as much money as he can, commensurate with his success.
And you take 25% of that?
Well, it varies based on the kinds of relationships we have with various kinds of clients in various parts of the world.
But that was really the point of the question that you were saying you didn't understand, that in order to do that, you have to take them over lock, stock and barrel. You have to enter into that person and manage them in a total sense. Tell them what they should be doing at any point in the day.
Never tell them, but always advise them. And of course, as people say, if you're advising someone they don't take the advice, they should fire you. But you advised them. And sports is a worldwide thing today. For an Ian Botham to be well managed, he has to have representation every place in the world where there's cricket, whether it's Australia or New Zealand or India or any place else. And that's what we do with our clients.
But for instance, I mean, it may not be true, but I read that you advised Jean-Claude Killy, the famous skier, not to get married because it would spoil his image.
Well, I think that that isn't exactly right. We talked a lot about it. He'd been living with a young lady for a lot of years who he subsequently did marry. And at the time, everyone felt that, he had the image of a handsome bachelor, and that was what they were doing their marketing of products around, but it didn't. I mean, that was not my advice to him not to get married. It was a discussion on the point, and he indeed did get married.
2 years later?
2 years later, right.
So he delayed it a bit because he thought perhaps his image was that of the bachelor?
I think he delayed it a bit just because he wanted to be sure he wanted to get married to the girl.
But I mean, that's my point, really, isn't it? That in the end, if you allow someone like you and your organization to manage your life, then inevitably you have to discuss, or be prepared to discuss all of your life.
I think you have to describe it. I mean, I think you have to go in any kind of a relationship. In the new book I've just written, The Terrible Truth About Lawyers, I talk about selecting a lawyer, which is like selecting a manager, which is really, you've got to set the ground rules yourself. You have to say, look, you have to call me every day and tell me what's going on, or I don't want to hear from you, just let me go about my profession and let me know at the end of the year how I've done. And people feel about lawyers and managers in that way, and that you just have to set your own rules, and they have to set them.
So we've talked about money and that kind of, the power of money, but what about real power? What about politics? You've never entered into politics. Have you ever been tempted?
No, I think in America, at least, I listened to Kathy speak a little bit about the press and what they do to people in public life. And I think one of the sad parts, I can't speak to Great Britain because, I'm a visitor here, but in the United States, it is really tragic that many talented people stay out of public life, maybe some of the most talented, because they don't want their life under the microscope of often a very scandalous minded press. And which of us can say that in the years that we've been alive, there isn't something that we've done that we wouldn't want the CBS television to know, or the BBC to know, or indeed the News of the World to know. And I think a lot of people don't go into politics for that reason. And
or
I think
some do, like Gary Hart, and look what happened.
Some do, like Gary Hart and like Biden and others, but I think it's tragic what we do to some of our heroes and some of our talented people and some of our greatest personalities.
But in the end, as viewed from Britain, US politics is about image making, is about marketing. Just thinking about you and what you have been able to do for so many people, it would surely be possible for you to create a president of the United States.
Well, you flatter me, Sue. That would be wonderful to contemplate, but I think that way overestimates our own abilities or my own ability. But it's, and it's something that, frankly, there's so much to do in the world of sports, and it's happening all over the world, and it's just exploding, and it's so hard to do everything you should be doing in your own field. To get into that field is just not worth the effort.
Mark, I know you began life as a golfer and then quickly realized that managing golfers was perhaps, well, more lucrative, but also you felt...
Considering the way I played golf, for sure.
I wonder if I were the devil and I came along to you and I said, Mark McCormack, give up everything you've done, your multi-million empire, give it all up, and tomorrow you can be the US Masters champion. Would you do that?
Be a close call. I mean, I'm a great sports fan, and I really get great vicarious thrills out of Bjorn Borg winning at Wimbledon, or Keeley winning the Olympics, or Greg Norman winning the Masters or the British Open, or things of that kind, and I would love it. I would love to have done that, but I feel so lucky to have stayed so close to the thing I love so much, and to enjoy my life so much.
And to have made a business out of it.
Been marvelous.
Terrific. Mark McCormack, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Sue.